Hello everyone, this is Jens Heitland. Welcome to another episode of the Jens Heitland Show, where I interview experts from different fields to connect the dots of innovation and entrepreneurship. Today's guest is describing himself with the modus operandi found in disruptive online methodology, co-destructing what's always been done and challenging the status quo. He's managing director of OneFit in the Netherlands. Please welcome to the show, Edouard Leeuwenburg. Hello, Edouard. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jens. Hi. Thank you for having me, and I'm doing very well.
It's great to have you on the show. It's a pleasure to have another sports person on the show. I've had a couple of now, so it's always good to have sport people innovating.
Thanks. Cool. Yeah.
Before we go into innovation and what's happening in the fitness world on innovation and what you have learned over specifically the last year, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What is your story?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Edouard. I'm 45 years old. I grew up in the eastern part of Holland in the farmers' culture and environment, and that has, I think it's nice to know because it explains a bit on how I sometimes operate. Not too refined, but with a pure passion and heart for the core of things. Moved to the Technical University of Delft to study. But sadly, studying and school were never my strongest point. I'm always a bit of a wanderer in my mind. I always looked outside, never really into the books, but I'm more like a guy that likes to do things with his hands and also with his brain and then create. I'm more a creator than a passionate listener and reader, sadly, I must say. Nevertheless, I didn't slouch. I've always been working ever since I was, I think, 12 or 13. I worked in my parents' company, and I was always on the lookout for something new, something creative to make a few guilders or euros, as we say today. After I started in 2000, my own online company, which of course went bankrupt in the big bubble, not much later. Learned a lot, by the way. I started in the world of online marketing in CRM. Did a lot on that. I taught myself to code. I could do some basic PHP. I could do a bit of MySQL. And quite soon I was able to create template-based CMS, content management systems, small web shops with some friends. And that really helped me in pivoting kind of like if this, then that kind of equations. And it helped me for many years also in business, because every time in the world that was still very non-digital, I came across problems. People said, yeah, we can't do that, or we can't mass send a message to 1,000 people, or we can't. And I was like, hey, I know we can if we just combine this and that, and there you go. So quite soon I came into the world of email marketing. At that time, heavily under fire of being a spammy environment. I joined the Email Marketing Association of the Netherlands, of course, trying to do as much as I could to not spam people. Interesting time, very cool. Went to the Telegraaf Media Group. I worked in the newspaper industry, and there was a huge building, the printing building, and the CEO at that time told me, look, Edouard, this is where we print our newsletters on the day-to-day, and it's massive. And, you know, if we turn on all the printing machines at the same time, the western side of whole Amsterdam would have a power dip. And I said, oh, cool, yeah. And how many people can you reach with that? He said, well, we can reach, I think at that time, somewhere in the 5 or 6 million people. And I said, you know what, if you give me 200,000 euros and a few people, I will go into the basement and I'll hook up some computers, and I can get you a database of 7 million people. And it's only compared to the building you have over there, it's just a few bricks. And we took off, and we did, and we then built one of the biggest consumer databases in the Netherlands. Again, great time. And the challenge there was not only the digital part or technical, it was more or less, how do you bridge this idea to a business model? How do you make this something which is not a spam company harassing people, but still a way to create value? And what was fun, at the same time, there was a big revolution going on in the advertising industry. Google taking over DoubleClick, the online bidding industry started, and we connected that to email, and we were able to have a email marketing publishing company that was able to incorporate ads in newsletters, daily newsletters, weekly, monthlies. And not later were we able to already start do profile targeting. So we could target people on specific age, gender, location, but more important, also click behavior, because in email marketing, you know where people click. And by categorizing topics at that time, we were able to say, well, this is a male person, 35. He clicks on football. He likes Ajax because he always clicks on Ajax. So we could then start targeting ads there. And this was in 2008, I think. So if you see where Facebook is today, and I don't want to claim anything, but we were there. We hooked it up with the cookies on website behavior as well. So we were able to give you a 360 behavioral targeting setup. Now, that idea failed. And why? Because we were too early. I remember going to media agencies, big ones, and I had to explain their board what we were doing. And they didn't understand. They just couldn't. They were like, who's this guy? What's he talking about? And wow, a little bit too far of our time. Well, quick step forward. I worked almost 2 years in the gaming industry as a CRM director. And then going left and right into different other companies, I ended up at T-Mobile Netherlands. In the service part, where I used all my marketing technology to drive online service. Great team, great time. We did an excellent job. And at the end, we ruled basically the online T-Mobile domain, massive domain. It was really cool, huge traffic on the app. And then I started a almost 2-year adventure in Europe, Central Eastern Europe, for Deutsche Telekom. Wow, that was going from National League to the European League. It was a huge step. Almost every day in a plane to some city in Eastern Europe. At the same time, growing up with 2 kids at home, and my wife, who also has a very busy business career. That was where I really can say I walked into a wall. Did a sabbatical, tried to do nothing for 12 months. And 6 months later, I was called by a friend who said, yeah, there's this startup in Berlin, something with sports. Probably you, because sports is what you do. You can't sit still. So would you like to have a talk with them? So I did, and we had a really cool, really great. I became the ad interim CMO for Urban Sports Club. And I had a blast. It was really cool. I enjoyed Berlin. Great team, atmosphere, great values, and on the front of the wave, serving of innovation and sports. And the founders of the Dutch counterpart, OneFit, that they had taken over, were leaving, took a different role. And the founder of the Netherlands said, "Hey, we're looking for an MD in Holland." And I replied, "Well, let me see if I know someone." He said, "No, you." And I was like, "Oh, that's actually that's cool." So here I am. March 1st last year, I became the managing director of OneFit as part of Urban Sports Group. And 2 weeks later, I could say to all my new employees, please go home, goodbye, it's a corona. And 2 weeks later, we could shut down everything because we're in this pandemic. And then I entered again in a 12 months roller coaster ride from my home desk. And that's where I am right now.
Awesome story.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's super interesting to see a couple of parallels as well from my perspective, starting really in the working force and basically developing your way up through getting shit done.
Yeah.
That's always the most fun part. Let's have a look at innovation. I mean, starting in a new position in the pandemic time is already difficult. Starting in a new position where you're supposed to be the leader of the whole organization is even more difficult. Starting in the sports industry with gyms and fitness clubs, I guess is like something you don't want to start at all in a pandemic time. So how did you start your journey?
Yeah. The first thing I remember is that the founder of OneFit, Serge, and we were having coffee at a nearby coffee house at the new office. I think it was my second day in, and then the pandemic was becoming really serious. And prior to that, I have had experiences in crisis situations. Just pure coincidence, there was a big phone network outage at T-Mobile some years ago. And it's a quite big operator in the Netherlands. So if they're down, a lot of people don't have the ability to communicate. And at that time, I was with a few other colleagues at the office and present, and we, from the digital part, took reins in communicating to members the first 3 days, because it happened on a Friday afternoon and throughout the whole weekend. And I was part of that task force crisis and everything. And then I had already dealt with a crisis before. So I immediately told Serge, the founder, like, dude, I think I know what to do. I think I know how to manage this. And there's a few critical things we need to do. So, and what are those things, you might ask? Well, some of those things are close and very close and fast response. Yeah. So there's a task force. You start immediately with a small WhatsApp group or on Slack to communicate constantly. You've got your stakeholders, you've got your customers, you've got your partners, your studios. So what you do is you try to become as much proactive as you can in a crisis situation. The moment you become reactive, that's the moment when you can see it today, by the way, people start to think their own conspiracy theories, or they get nervous or anxious, and they're like, you know what, I'm not going to wait anymore, I'm going to do this. And then what happens? You have to spend double time and energy to get them back in, and that's freakingly frustrating. So we immediately opened up some channels, and also I think what's clear is if you're in a crisis situation, it's called crisis for a reason. Yeah. So there's no book that tells you what to do. So people that come up to you today and say, like, I think you're an idiot because you don't know what to do. And like, okay, so bring me your glass bowl. Tell me what do you know? You don't. So the feeling of the pandemic for me in the beginning was, as I said, navigating a sandstorm. So you have a compass, you know, kind of like where you should go, but you can't see anything. And you just started a company. So normally if your email doesn't work, you go to the guy next door from IT, you knock him on the shoulder, say, hey dude, can you help me? You can't, because you don't know those people, or you're not at the office. When it comes to the sports industry, the first thing I said on my introduction to the team in the Netherlands was, I want to meet each and every one personally for at least 30 minutes, have a cup of coffee. I couldn't fulfill that promise. The second was, I want to try and do as much sports our partners have to offer. Give you an idea, we have 1,000 partners, so it's tricky. But at least to try and do as much different things as possible, and I couldn't. So I also couldn't see these people. I couldn't touch them. I couldn't feel them. I could only talk through a webcam, and that's highly efficient and super unemotional. And that's not how I am. If I talk with people, if I engage with people, I want to be one-on-one in real life. So navigating a sandstorm, not having any clue where to find what, who, where, and when. Didn't have a glass bowl. But the only thing I could repeat for myself is keep communication close. Keep it close, try to be proactive. And yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, that's where we are.
So this is the best precondition for innovation. So if we now go into innovation, so how did you approach it from an innovation perspective? I mean, it's like you're in a forced change situation where it's like there's no other way. You can't just open the door and just pretend it's normal. So how did you approach it from an innovation perspective?
So innovation, first of all, I got to give it to the guys from tech as well, because you can't do sports. So what do we have to offer to people? They immediately developed a platform where we could host online classes, right? And I think a lot of people in the industry did this. Partners did it themselves. Competition did it. Even Apple's coming up with a home sports platform. So that one, I'd say, is obvious, and it's more of something they created. Is it innovation? Yeah, it's innovation. Is it great innovation? It's more or less like it's there, so you build it, right? I think the most innovative work has gone into just looking at me, sorry for saying so, what were my goals? Look, there's a company that thrives on that needs revenue from paying customers. And we were left with no paying customers, none. We froze them. Because if we didn't, they would all jump ship and we would have nothing left at the end. I think the most beautiful innovation is innovation that's simple to me. And I just something simple. And one of the great things we did after the second lockdown was we created this feature where people could pause themselves. And you might say, oh, that's not really cool. But actually, it also for us as a company, it was highly innovative because we would be able to give the power to the people. Like, hey guys, if you want to stop your account, that's fine. Just hit pause and you're on pause. And I'm so happy with that decision because today we know when the world opens up again, we can unpause these people and they're back again.
Yeah.
And it's super simple. It's a simple button. Yeah. Very, very simple, small button. And it's a company saver for sure. Yeah.
I love that example. One part is a simplicity. The other part is like I have a yearly membership in the pool. They took the money and it's gone.
Yeah.
So and I get this and I'm supporting it as well because I love the pool and I'm a long-term user of it. But it's basically for me, there's no value, there's no communication, zero. No. I just see it in the newspapers. Hey, yeah, pools are not going to open most probably until June. So it's like almost a year closed. Yeah. And that's why for me it's super good response from a perspective of, hey, that's something which is focused on the customer. It's like, hey, they're in the same situation like everyone else, and they most probably wouldn't leave your gyms if they wouldn't be in this pandemic situation. Maybe some would, but in the end, it's like you need to give them something, give them an opportunity, build a hook to, hey, we're friends in this situation. We are all in the same situation, but we can do this together, and we want to stay together with you.
Yeah, And another thing that pops into my mind, if you look at innovation and things that have happened during the pandemic that we saw from the sports industry, is that funny thing is we not only offer sports in our portfolio, but we also offer yoga. And a person doing high intensity training is not per se a person that does yoga. And just let's use some simple assumptions. Don't kill me for it, but it's to make to explain. Turns out that right now, if I look at my customer behavior, yoga is a huge hit. So, and what we did in pandemic, we pushed ahead with the online classes, and we also pushed ahead with our B2B sales team, because we think that's a fundamental pillar for the business to grow. And I think we signed almost every law firm in the Netherlands, and they're all at home working like crazy, because these people also work a lot. Yeah. And I only assume that between their meetings and courts and whatever they do, they have 5-minute yoga snacks, because they're all like shooting out. So stretched yoga, all those exercises are very popular. And even myself, I started doing some yoga classes. I said before, I can't sit still. I'm not a person that will sit and read. Like, I'm more into action. But so I would normally never have gone to a yoga class out of self-preservation and respect to others. I think I would be a nuisance. But doing it at home really helped me. So I'm really grateful for that. So this pressure also brings new things, new insights, and new experiences, and that's great.
Yeah. How did you communicate with your customers in that strange times until now?
Primarily with use of email marketing. We have a very active Insta channel, so that's happening. Yeah, basically that's it. Yeah.
What are the topics, if you look back into your experience by working with email marketing in the late 2008, I think you mentioned, like how did this inform what you're doing now? Is there like an information flow from yourself into the organization where you bring different knowledge from that time in?
Yeah, I did use some of the old tricks and asked the team, but I am not, the position I'm having with regards to where the people are that are doing email marketing, I don't want to be on their desk all the time. So yeah, but I must say in the whole, and I hope people are not going to get pissed off at me, but I do think that the whole email marketing, there's not been a lot of great innovation. I mean, not as much as it was back in those days, where we would really do some cool stuff. That cool stuff is still there. But yeah, you do see that email is not as big as it was before. Inboxes are cluttered. Getting that attention rate that attention of opening is really difficult. But hey, if you send an email to your member base about reopening, the open rate is, of course, way higher than you send an email about how to eat and stay safe in the pandemic. That's obvious. Yeah.
You can't send reopening every week. That
no. Well, here's a actual problem. The Dutch government has a press conference every 2 weeks. And especially with the pause option. So that meant every 2 weeks we had to re-inform our base. No, we will not reactivate your account. No, we will. It's like boring email, that's a risk in itself, because people go like, there's. So when you do want to say something important, people probably go like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. What are other things where you mentioned in the beginning is that you directly went into proactiveness and not reacting? What are other things you did on your journey in the last year?
So in my role, which was the first time as a managing director, we did Well, being a managing director or like the boss of a local entity, you need to know about a lot of things, and stepping in right when we close down everything is really weird. So doesn't feel like a comfortable coat. A company grows on you, and this was postponed. So this is something where I really had to work a lot between the lines to get a grip on. You have one-on-ones with people on a webcam with whom you actually don't know yet. You have never had a beer, you've never had some social time. And how do you do performance management? How do you help people with more personal related stuff? That's really weird and awkward. So I remember going in pretty proactive on that, and that bounced off. That really, that didn't work. So that was a good lesson. I learned a lot of lessons, I think. So, for instance, with the marketing team, we would have an everyday stand-up. So when we grew more confident with the world, we went to every other day stand-up. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But still, I used a lot of examples from the holacracy model. We used the Asana board, and then we have tactical meeting. And we have the tactical meeting every other day, which is quite a lot. And it works like a charm. It works like a high-speed train. It's like, you go through every topic. But there's actually no room for personal contact. So until recently, we started on every Friday. The Friday meeting it's the Funky Friday meeting. It's no boundaries. We chat. And deliberately take time. And I think that's important. Yeah. So I try to be more laid back, release the tension, and let people talk more and more. And that, it's important. It's really important to connect.
Yeah, I can't agree more. We do the same in the platform business. I'm investing in and working with a couple of co-founders. We do I think it's now every second Wednesday, a beer meeting. Yeah. Where it's only about meeting for drinking beer or wine or whatever. It's not about too much work. It's more about, hey, let's chat what's going on.
Yeah.
You can't meet in person, and then you need to find a possibility to connect on different levels than like you would do in an office. Hey, let's go for a beer after work, or let's have lunch together, because it's not working like this.
No, and and if you take we let people come to the office nowadays in small groups, and we started with a max amount of people at the office. So we have a new office. We also moved to a new office space, by the way, and it's a great space. It's really cool. Everybody loves to be there, but we said you can only have like 8 people there per day. Sounds like a good idea, but actually it's not, because what then happens if in the beginning always the same people go, and the value of engaging with each other in real life is cut in half. Because if you have, for instance, I have a few teams that consist of 8 or 10 people. And if you say there's only 10 people allowed to go to the office, so there's obvious 2 or 3 that are always there. So half of that team can only see each other. So recently we changed it, and they suggested, the team, and I think it's a good idea, to say we make every day a different team day. So the teams are still relatively small, so you will adhere to the limits. And what you get is that these teams are just like in the F1 little bubbles. But they do get the chance to re-engage with each other. And this helps. And from the moment we started doing this, I can see the spirits are getting better, lifted. People are getting more like, we have more time to spend together, all with the safe distances, of course. And I mean, the room is huge, so 8 people is like, sometimes you really have to look hard to find them. But just seeing each other is really good.
Yeah. I would like to look forward. How do you see innovation in fitness, innovation in your business moving on? and as well, adaptation, most probable adaptation with future lockdowns, whatever will come.
Please, no future lockdowns. So looking forward, using stuff we see today is that first of all, it's pretty obvious is that hybrid sports would be here to stay, right? Mm-hmm. So with hybrid, I mean online and offline. Checking in and out will become a more common thing. So with that, I mean, hey, it's Monday morning. I feel like yoga today. So you do yoga. You do it in the morning or in the afternoon, and then, that's the thing. Then tying into that, the changed behavior of people where it comes to daily commuting and going to work. I foresee that people will be, because one of the things I really hated is stepping into your car every morning, driving to the office, being in a traffic jam with a gazillion other idiots in the same traffic jam. You look around, you're like, guys, what the hell are we doing here? I mean, that's how I look at it. I know there's people that like, you make a traffic jam or what. I'm like, hey, we're all, what the hell are we doing here? we're like ants. This is stupid. So I think people will start using the time they have a day on a more effective way. So in the morning, some people will start very early, work at home, then go to the office. Others will only go 2-3 times a week to the office. So that also tells you something about sports. It used to be that you would only go do sports on Monday evening or Tuesday evening. It will now, hopefully, throughout the day, will happen more. I think there will be more in between snack moments that we start doing things we really like. Taking a walk, going to yoga class, high intensity training. You can do that at 3 in the afternoon and then have a meeting afterwards or before. I mean, that's the thing that will happen. So people will become more working nomads, more wandering. Hopefully we'll kill the traffic jams. Then when it comes to sports and data and technology, things are becoming more and more intertwined. Yeah, so your Garmin watch will track your calories because of the training you did. It will be more tied to each other. There will be more extensive reporting what you've done. Healthcare and health it's obvious. Yeah, stay fit. We have a slogan: sweat and joy. So more sweat, more joy. And I hope the pandemic has forced people. Normally a change takes time. We talk about this quite often, right, Jens?
Yeah.
And I think the world has learned that pressure helps drive change, and I hope it has created a healthy appetite for people to do more different things. Creativity is not a thing you're per se born with. Creativity, I think, is highly related to curiosity. And I hope the curiosity of the masses has been inspired to do different. Even I started doing yoga, yeah? Come on. Everybody can do something else, like start cooking. People started cooking and, gardening, reinventing, and that's nice. So that's what I also see happening.
Is there anything you could share on how you see what you just mentioned, like behavior changes and things that you see shifting, where you want to utilize that in how you innovate your business going forward, which you can share?
So if the need for variety increases, right, and the curiosity will feed that. I think as an industry, we should look into more hybrid solutions or quickly be able to become more agile. So a box gym doesn't necessarily have to be a box gym per se. You could really look at an empty environment with all these modular options you could bring into that. And that could be one of the things. And I think for us as a platform, we could also, we should open up our thoughts to offer more of these things. It doesn't necessarily mean that we also should start offering completely different things, right? Because if you're with one fit, or Urban Sports Group, you sign up for a sports subscription, and already this ties into that feeling, because either you have a subscription with your swimming pool, your yoga teacher, and your boxing club, which is 3 subscription with 3 different sets of rules. You don't want to be bothered with that, yeah. So with us, you just pay 1 subscription and that's it. And if you want to stop it, you stop it, and then you can pause. So we're already doing this, yeah. So our platform already. Should we also start selling books? Don't think so.
One thought. I mean, there may be some of your existing customers say, "Hey, I don't want to go to the physical gym anymore. I just want to use the online offer."
Yeah.
Do you see behavior like that?
Yeah, in the future? This is already happening. We have a pure online offer, and we see people that used to have the regular offer that switched to the online one. It's still growing day by day. So yeah, definitely. And I think also coming from a telco industry, we know people want to have the ability to move around in their subscription model.
Yeah.
Times where you squeeze people, that's not. I mean, in the end, you'll never win. It's a bad thing. I can already do. I mean, business models are in our industry as an aggregator in sports are basically, that's what it's all about. It's the topic, and everybody's trying to pivot their business model to a way where they can foster growth. And in the end, the question is like, are you going to do that by squeezing partners or customers, or, and that's a difficult path to navigate. But we're ready for that. Yeah.
But I think, at least to what I've learned from you today, is you will do this always with the customers in mind. And if you do this, you will win on a long-term perspective. At least that's my strong belief, is if you dial into the needs of your customers, you can only win.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that it will always be nice, right? It doesn't mean things. I can tell you one thing: the world will not become cheaper. That's a fact. But I do think honest, open, and clear communication, and I mean honesty. That goes a long way. Yeah, that's how.
Absolutely.
And it's a beautiful, challenging outlook getting out of the pandemic. I like reading up news on parts of the world that are already opening up to see what we can expect. UK, United States, what's happening there? I heard somebody, I think it was in the talk we both joined, that people were in London. No, it was on TV. Somebody said that in London, when they opened the pubs, every 15 minutes, people were cheering just because they could again, tells you something. Yeah,
it will be interesting. A friend of mine is saying we will get back to the roaring 30s. So where everyone goes nuts, but let's see what's coming. So I would like to transition now to the last part, where I'm asking a couple of questions out of the context we have discussed so far.
Yeah.
So if you have the chance to work with a project, run a project, be part of a project that's impacting every human being on Earth, what project would you be willing to join, and why? It's a small question, I know.
Okay, for that, I would then go back to my own core values, because that's where the question is about, I think. I did some exercises on that. So I know. I like to connect things. I like to connect people. I like to connect things. I like to connect things with people, and people with things, and things with things. Okay. And so it should definitely be a project on that. Maybe something, again, telco related, because the thing I really enjoyed there is literally connecting people. but it could be any industry. So I'm currently in the platform aggregating. That's also connecting, right? So something globally connecting. And the way I would like to do that goes back to the modus operandi is simplicity. So getting two Lego bricks clicking together, that's for me, that's satisfying. Yeah, I like that. It's simple. But then if you do that, then you start creating more and more, right? So it would be a project connecting people and things for the greater good of the world in a very simple way, and then growing it. So nothing huge, nothing with a already predefined goal to change the entire world, because that would suck out all the juice, because it's too big. But it could be something small, and then if we find the momentum, it would go big. But I really wouldn't know what right now.
That's fine.
Okay.
So where will you be in a year from now? And you can answer that on a personal level, on a business level, or combined.
Yeah, a year from now, I really don't know, but I'm pretty sure I will be with OneFit. I will be with a bigger, better, stronger, and faster OneFit. I will be with a cool, super energetic team of people, working our asses off with sweat and joy. From a year from now, I will probably have lost at least 5 kilograms, because I've grown a Corona belly. And I've also had Corona. So currently not my health, but I do feel every now and then that my condition is weaker. It's been 3 months now, but I don't have the energy I had before. So that sucks. So that's gonna have to be gone. And personally, well, currently I'm in a holiday house on Texel, and I hope next year to be here again, because I always love going here. So it's yeah.
Great. Last question from this one. How do you keep yourself up to date? How do you keep yourself informed?
Tons of sources. And I actually should stop doing that, because my wife really hates it. Always on that stupid phone, mobile phone. But yeah, that's what I do. I scrape all news sites I can to read and to learn. But again, only small snippets.
Headlines.
Yeah, really. But then when it's interesting, every now and then there's one of those industry researches from I think McKinsey or Deloitte. Those are the things you do read. And there's a well-informed group of people within our organization that share a lot. That's really helpful. And listen and talk a lot with people, right? So that's important. Yeah.
Great. Edouard, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. How can people reach out to you? Where can people find you?
Well, that's quite easy, because there's only one Edouard in Nederland, the way you write my name. So my parents didn't know, but they were marketing geniuses van de letteren. There's only one Edouard Leeuwenburg. So when you Google me, you'll find me. And I'm on LinkedIn, and you can, or send me an email, lastname@gmail.com, which is also quite unique. That's me. And always happy to interact with people, connect. I like to connect, so connect, and I'd be happy to reconnect. And yeah, thanks, Jens. It was a pleasure and great being here. And it's always a bit awkward to talk a lot about oneself, right?
Yeah, that's what the podcast is about.
Yeah,
we want to understand your perspectives and hear about your stories.
cool. Yeah.
Great. I will put the links as usual into the show notes. Again, thank you very much for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Great, Jens. Thanks a lot. And
thanks.
Okay, bye-bye and stay safe. Ciao.